All right, guys. Hey, we're live on Hunters Hangout. We finally got on. Had a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm going to say that's probably Linda's fault. We're not going to say it out loud, though. But
Sorry, trouble is here tonight.
and we brought the trouble with us.
And no, it wasn't me this time.
For sure.
It
wasn't Phil for sure.
It was Phil.
No,
Phil's like, oh no. And then we're all like, can you hear me, Phil? What? Oh no. Yeah, it was Phil. Phil. We'll say Phil and Linda. Anyways, we got an exciting show today. And before we get started, what are we going to do, Phil?
We are going to give away, well, not give away, but we're going to announce some prizes.
Hey, look at that. All right.
So,
come on, excited people, excited.
First off, we have a mask from Face Factory FX.
Yay!
Next, one of you guys could win a groundbreaker zombie mask from Fright Props.
Very good.
Right.
Then one lucky winner will receive one free SFX library or 25% off original sound or 10% off amps or speakers from Cineful Audio.
It's not or, it's and.
And I'm sorry. And great hosting by Phil.
Yep.
Okay, here we go.
And the favorite, ornaments. One of you lucky winners could win ornaments. And it's a raven ornament.
Woohoo! All right.
Nice.
Can you really
Good job,
enunciate the word, the first
Ornament.
part?
Yeah. Next up, we have a gallon of fog from Froggy's Fog. Then from Haunt Labs, we have a Haunter hanging wall sign, which will feature the winner's state.
Yay.
Then from Sam Haynes, for all of the people watching tonight, you guys can receive 50% off by using the code Haunters. So anybody who's watching tonight, visit Sam Haynes' website, and you guys can all receive 50% off.
Yeah, and 50% of Sam Haynes' stuff is like super cheap, dude. So you're pretty much getting it for nothing. So
one lucky winner will win a realistic-looking skull from Nightmare Makers.
woohoo!
Nice.
Then we have Hollywood FX Hybrid Alcohol Airbrush Makeup. That's a mouthful. You can win a 2-ounce glow green and also orange from I Love FX Makeup. From Exotic Lenses, you can win one free non-prescription lens.
They only get one lens?
Yeah.
Well, one pair. Sorry, one pair.
That's how they get you. They give you one for
They
free.
get you one lens. I just messed with Phil because he sounds so nervous.
I know I am. I'm sweating over here behind the picture. So from Hardcore Fabrication, you get your choice of one of 4 knives.
Oh, yeah.
From Hotwire Foam Factory. Jeez, I'm messing up all over the place. One of you lucky winners could win a $25 gift card.
Yay.
And finally, from Matthew Miller of Scurvy Demon Haunt, one of you lucky winners could win a Webcaster gun.
Woohoo!
All right.
Closing out strong on that one. You like that?
Oh, you did great.
We already have a first comment. It's about Phil from Nate Dingman. You're doing fine, Phil. No one's noticing your fuck ups. So there you go.
Oh boy.
Hey, Nate, what's the drinking word for tonight?
Question. I have a question.
I don't think it's word tonight.
Yeah.
Wait.
So everybody,
All
I'll
right,
be watching Facebook and leave your comments, then questions there, and I'll get them to the our great panel.
That's right. Brad's going to be monitoring them, so he's going to ask your question. And just remember, you guys, go to our sponsors for all your haunt needs, man, because they're giving prizes all our Haunters Hangout season, and let's get this party started. Okay, we're going to start off with all the guests and go down the line, starting off with Donald. And tell us about your haunt, a little bit about yourself.
Okay, my wife and I have been doing it for about 8 years now. We started out in 2010, just a little yard haunt and in Blue Ash, Ohio, and kind of just continued to grow it. We actually built a hearse just from scrap wood I had laying around in the garage, and we just love having kids come by. We joined the Teal Pumpkin program for kids with allergies who can't eat candy, so we have toys for them. And with the Haunters Against Hate, and soon I'm looking into get into Don't Be a Monster.
Oh, that's cool. What's the name of your haunt?
It's Garza Graveyard.
Ah, nice. Okay, moving over to Linda.
Hi.
Linda, can you hear us?
Yes,
Linda.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Linda.
Yeah, now we got the bandwidth going. I think we're okay.
I think you took the hat off. You lost your reception.
Yeah, I know. I have to put it back on again. Anyway, hi. I'm Linda Marshall. I'm from Wickedly Grande. We're up here in Appleton, Grand Chute, Wisconsin, not too far from Green Bay. I've been at this regularly for about 16 years now. We're a yard haunt that has now, for the first time this year, become a charity haunt. We are collecting food for the St. Joe's Food Pantry, and we did really well with that this year. So we're anxious to see how next year's going to go with things.
Cool. Oh, very nice. Very
Awesome.
nice. All right, moving over to Patricia.
Well, I'm Patricia Langston, and we have a haunt now in Pine Valley called Pine Valley Haunt. And it's just last year was our first year there. We used to live at the beach in a condo, and we made a display that was kind of smaller and more detailed. And now we have a huge yard that we get to decorate. And it was an instant hit with everybody up here because nobody up on this mountain does that. So that was pretty exciting. And I think I've been doing this about 10 years, but I really got going when I started going to haunt conventions and doing a lot of the classes. In fact, they kind of tease me because I always sign up for all the classes, and they say, you know, like, well, I can't stay up and party with you guys all night because I've got to get up early for my class to learn how to make acrylic eyeballs. So that's what really got me going, was doing all those classes.
Yeah,
Yeah, Diablo's the same way with the conventions. He never. He's always got to get up early.
Yeah, I noticed.
All right, Brad. All right, Wendy, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I mean, oh, sorry, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. So, Chris Stone, Rochester, New York. I guess my first haunt was just a little walkthrough in a shed in my my brother-in-law's backyard we did for the small kids. But 4 years ago, became friends with one of my neighbors. Found out he liked haunting, and then we ended up talking to the apartment complex, and they let us take over like the downstairs in one of the buildings, and it just kind of went downhill from there. I started looking online. I found you guys, and ever since then, I've just kind of been crazy with it.
Yeah, we kind of suck you in, don't we?
Oh yeah. So I mean, went from having townhouse yards to this year. Last year we just bought a house, so now it's like I got all this extra space to fill up, and so it's just it's everywhere.
Right. So what do you guys consider like your strong points in your haunt? We can go down the line, or you guys can just talk. What is your strong point when you look at your haunt and say, "Oh, now this is what I like to do. This is my favorite part. I'm good at it."
Are you starting off with me?
Sure.
For me, I would say it's the tombstone making. I like making the tombstones out of the foam. Now our thing now is we like to do tombstones from movies. So the tombstone from George from It. We did the Carrie tombstone, the Michael Myers tombstone. So we just like to continue off on that aspect. So we incorporate that into each of our yard haunts. And the kids love it because when they, like with it this past year we did, and we had the balloon hanging off of it, all the kids just loved that because that was the big hit this year.
Oh, very cool. Linda?
I think mine's the creativity aspect. I have 3 separate themes that I do. Last year we did the cemetery and I changed that up and got it just about to where I want it to be. This year we're going to change the pumpkin patch around and do it as a haunted farm. So I just, change around and put a lot of different creative aspects in with that. And then the third one is the Monster Mash and making sure that I have all the appropriate characters in my band and my bar and all of those kind of fun things. But there's a lot of detail that I like to put into mine. We have a lot of little kids too, and I make sure that mine isn't that scary. It's kind of creepy, but there's a lot of cute comical things in there. Like, for example, when I did the pumpkin patch before, and I had the farm stand, I had a pumpkin sitting on a toilet pooping pies. So, we have along those lines, that everybody just kind of looks like, oh, that's gross, but hey, that's cute. So it's kind of incorporating weird things like that in there.
Nice. Patricia?
Well, I guess I like the details too. And what I used to do when we had just a smaller area, it was like a side patio that everybody walked by. I used to change themes every year and make them very, very detailed. So luckily, when we moved to this larger area to decorate, I had saved quite a lot of what I had done in the past. So now instead of having just one theme and changing it, I have multiple different scenes where I can utilize some of the stuff from the different themes. And it's kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean that's like one of the biggest parts is like if you make something, you gotta be able to use it in the next haunt, no matter what you change. That's how I had a problem with my pirate thing. I was like, once you go pirate, you can't go, you can't go nowhere with that. You gotta stay pirate,
But you can still use things like whiskey barrels, and you can still use things like they can be used for anything.
Right. All right, Wendy. I mean, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm messing up your whole thing with using everything the next year because traditionally I've done mostly like the cemeteries and that kind of thing. And then this year I'm changing it all up. So right now I'm looking at like, all right, how do I keep all that stuff in storage and still make room to put another haunt in the garage?
Oh, right. I mean, yeah, I've been through there. So you're not going to use any of your stuff, repurpose it?
Like some of the skeletons and skulls and things, maybe. But I'm kind of looking at trying to do the whole inside of the garage as like it's underwater.
Oh.
So that's going to take a lot of the stuff that I traditionally use out of the mix. So whether I still try and put them in the backyard or not, I'm like looking at redoing the whole mess.
Yeah, we're still waiting on that tutorial too.
Yeah, I know. I can go get it now and show it to you. Technically, it'll be on.
Is that going to be sort of like BioShock kind of style, or?
No, I was just kind of theme wise. I'm thinking like kind of like Dead Tide or Dark Water. So it's kind of like just something like everything down there is either decaying or some kind of red tide thing that messed it up, and so you'll just have fish and like mermaids and everything's just kind of
cool.
Oh, that is cool.
But I want the whole thing to look like you're actually like walking on the seafloor, walking through.
Right. Well, I mean, what you did was all. Why don't you show everybody what you're doing with the hot glue, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything on here.
Oh, it's not there.
No, it's all down in the basement. That's where my work's at.
Well, you can go back and look at it. Look at his page.
Don't worry, Chris. He's really good about putting people on the spot.
Are those big fish that are made out of the hot glue?
The hot glue.
Yeah, those are awesome.
The fish, the crab, the jellyfish. But the jellyfish I actually found online. There's a tutorial on how to make those. But the person who makes them actually embeds like LEDs on them so they look like they're pulsating.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Which I haven't gone to that yet because it's cheaper just to make them without the lights. But
so that's the first time you ever did something like that?
Yeah, it was just these last few things that I started working on.
Well, now that we're on that, is there anything that you started, and this could be for the pinups, anything that you started that you really wanted to do, and you was like, oh my God, I could so do this, and I want to do it, and then all of a sudden, it's like halfway through, you're like, shit, you just couldn't do it.
I got one. I got it was a reindeer that I converted over to a dog. And it's like I'd say 80%, 85% done, but I need to make the legs longer and put the paws on it. and I just can't, like, it's been like 2 years and it's still in the same spot it was. So it looks pretty good.
Right.
And then you'll see the picture of it later, but I never actually went and finished what I originally intended it to do.
Right. What about you, Patricia? Something
Well,
you
only
thought
thing I
you could
can
do,
think of-
and you're like, hell with it.
The only thing I can think of right now is the year before last, my theme was the Rolling Bones. It was like a concert, and our neighbors were gone, and they said we could use their patio too. And I was going to make a bunch of groupies and stuff over in their patio.
Nice.
And I just didn't get to that, but it would have been cool.
Yeah.
I made
Linda?
one groupie.
You got one groupie.
Yeah, I had one groupie, a little girl.
How about you, Linda?
Well, there's always a whole list of things that I want to try to get into that time just doesn't allow to do a lot of that kind of stuff.
What did you get in? What did you get into that you got into, and then it was like, ah, shit, I can't do this, and trashed it?
Well, the columns we put out front started 3 or 4 times. Bob ended up figuring out how to do them properly, and we finally did get those actually finished. But there was a lot of blood, sweat, tears, and cussing until they got finished. But we actually did get some things finished. I really haven't canned anything that I haven't started that I really haven't liked. If it went so far, I just kind of figured, okay, I can't do this, and then turn it around and repurpose it into something else.
Right. I just hate when everybody does tutorials and makes it look so easy, and then they're like, okay, yeah, I can do that. Shit, look at that. It's so easy. What about you, Donald?
Pretty much the same. It's I haven't really. I would start something watching a tutorial. One I tried doing a casket opening up and popping open, and I just started it and just got frustrated. I was like, nope, I got to go back to static for now. I had to walk away.
Stand tough, bro. Stand tough.
Yeah. So, but that was it. But I do want to get back to that. I want to do like with the pneumatics and air cannons and stuff like that, because I like making kids jump. So it's pretty interesting when they walk by the gate and something pops up and they
you cannot
scatter.
fail with the air cannon. I've
Yeah.
never seen it. Even though you know it's there, they still joke at me when I walk by. They'll still get me with the air cannon. I know it's there. You just can't. It's a non-fail.
So while I hide,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, while I hide behind pictures again, Donald, this graveyard scene, you use different type of lighting for it and everything, or?
Yeah, we get the lights from Spirit, and my wife is very, very big on getting certain lighting in certain areas, so she's key for that portion of it. This picture here is very funny because this was in 2016. We had the graveyard up, and then Duke Energy had to come because there was a gas leak, and they dug up. I had to take down the fence. I had to move all the tombstones. They dug a big hole. So when they were finished, he was like, "Okay, we're gonna come back and see it." I was like, "No, come back after Halloween." So I used it.
Nice.
I dropped the light down into the hole, and then I actually put a moving half zombie that would rotate back and forth, looking like he was coming up out of it.
Cool.
Question for Dawn from Jennifer Waite Diggle. What is your favorite tombstone you've made? And also, what's your favorite technique for carving?
My favorite tombstone is the one we just did this past year, the George Stonedigger for it. We used the original from the original movie. Took a while to try and locate that online. Actually made the plaque out of wood, and then my wife stenciled out the letters of his name. Took us a while. I put the border trim around it. For carving, hot wire foam cutter is what I find to be a very good tool to me.
Sponsor shout out.
Yep.
Sponsor shout out.
This is here's the picture where Duke Energy was actually digging the hole.
Oh.
Yeah. Wow, they really dug up your yard.
Yeah,
Right all up in the yard. Tell them to keep the dirt to the side. We'll use it.
That he did. The foreman came back when they actually had a foreman come, because I had the fence up and everything, and he was like, well, he goes, we have this gas leak. I was like, well, who reported it? He was like, oh, it was reported back in April. I was like, you're just now coming out in October?
Yeah, wow. That's crazy.
So I was like, okay. So after they dug the hole, they've got it all done. He was like, okay, we can get it all filled back in. We'll come back and see it. I was like, no, just leave the dirt pile, I was like, come back after Halloween's, like come back, mid-November. You can have the yard back. It's like, but I'm going to utilize this. And our neighbors actually thought we asked Duke to come and do that.
I wouldn't have told him any differently.
Joshua really wants to know if you weatherproof your tombstones.
Yeah, yes, I do. I use I can't think of the name of it, but it's just like the Thompson's water seal. Right after we paint it, we let it dry, and then we water seal it, and then we put another coat over it of gray textured paint to make it look like stone, and it helps hold them up. I find making the stones last a lot longer than the buy them from the store because they're so much thinner.
Nice. Now, in this picture here, Donald, is that actually wood covering the
windows?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Totally off tonight. Oh my god.
The outside looking holes.
Yeah, that's actually the house when we lived in Blue Ash. That isn't actually wood framed wood that we cut. I framed it out and fitted into the windows, and people at that point really thought I was crazy because I literally putting up wood on my windows. But that went up and stayed up until after Halloween.
Nice.
My wife just now took down Christmas decorations.
What's another holiday? I didn't know.
Man.
Diablo, man.
I got a drink for that.
Drink for that.
Veteran. You're supposed to be the veteran, man.
I am too. I suck.
Donald, Matt Burke wants to know: do you have any problems with people stealing your props, and how do you avoid that?
Actually, we don't. And I do put up security cameras, but I never really had any issues. And like my wife said, she said, we put so much work into it that it's more appreciated and people don't really mess with it. In Blue Ash, we lived right on the main strip. Kids, teenagers come by, they never really messed with it. We had gargoyles. We did lose one gargoyle off the fence post, but no one's ever stole anything or took anything. We've never had that issue.
Oh,
awesome. Good. Now, in this picture here, is this right by the street? So you utilize another thing?
This was at my old house in Blue Ash. They put in a sewer drain on our grass. So we always make the best of a bad situation.
That's awesome.
So I picked up the grate. My wife wired our that used to be a skeleton, not a skeleton, one of those floating ghosts that would go up and down when you would hang it up. You got it from Spirit. So I just put it down into the grate. She attached the hands. We dropped it down, and I put a green light in the sewer. And then I had the voice box moaning saying "Help me" coming up out of it. And yeah, that was awesome. A big hit.
That is awesome.
Way to improvise when the utility companies screw with you like that.
we always make the best of the bad situation.
Did it rain while that was down there?
I'm sorry?
Did it rain while that was down there?
Yeah, it did. It got wet, but the hands were plastic, the face is plastic, so the cheesecloth fabric really upheld very well.
Did you ever think about doing some fog coming out of there? I'm sure you probably never would have got that fog machine back, but
that's the thing, because it was an active drain and everything. I didn't want to put too much electricity, so the light that's down there is actually a battery operated light. So if I lost it, no biggie.
Gregory Wallace wants to know if there's any challenges associated with haunting in a new house, in a new place.
When we moved here to Montgomery, it's an older neighborhood. We really didn't have any. We're the only ones on the block that decorate, so that's kind of a plus. And our first year, we had maybe about 10 to 15 people. This year, we had about 25 to 30. So as the word gets out, and I posted on, there's a website called Nextdoor for the neighborhoods. So we always post on there to let people know. This was back in our old house. We took a break from doing a graveyard. My wife wanted to do zombies. So we built a facade of a warehouse and brutal rust, did the doors. We did the whole kit, had everything moving, all the green lights and the barrels, the 50-gallon drums we got from off of Craigslist from a guy selling it. My wife painted it, used great stuff, painted it green. So that we only did that for 1 year, and we donated that to a charity out of Indianapolis. They repurposed it into their charity haunt.
That's awesome.
You they gave them the whole thing?
Yeah, they had to give us some. They gave us like don't quote me on this, but I want to say like $40 because they had to show some kind of payment for it. So I was like, but yeah, all the whole yard, the fence, which was like a looking chain link fence with barbed wire, the barrels, the piping. Yeah, we gave them the whole kit.
Oh, that's
Courtney
awesome.
Lane Clappert, I hope I said that right. Courtney wants to know, Donald, do you have any volunteers that help? And if so, how many?
Actually, no. Right now, it's just my wife and I. We're looking for it. I do have a young kid next door who is a foster child that my neighbors are fostering, and he comes over and helps us out with building. But that's pretty much it. So, other than that, no, it's just my wife and myself.
Nice.
There you go. All right. Well, we're gonna move over to Linda and show some pictures of hers.
I already ahead of you this time. Gotcha.
Hey!
He's getting good at it.
Okay, folks, let's get this damn question out of the way. This is where I store my stuff, okay? It is an 8x10 shed with an 8-foot ceiling with rafters above it. Rafters are open up into there. There are 8 rolling shelves, 4 tiers high. I have 28 bins in there. Most of them are the largest bins that Rubbermaid makes. Everything is absolutely stacked to the gills. You put all of that in there along with a trash can that has 2 animatronics, 2 of the Costco gargoyles, all of my rebar, PVC piping, any kind of extra stuff I can get in there, and a 50-pound bag of birdseed, and you've got about 90% of the shed taken up with, 90% of the haunt is in the
That
shed.
shit don't even look like that
Breathe,
shit
Linda,
fits.
breathe.
That shit don't even.
Strategic thinking.
You know, like, there's no way that shit fits in there. I mean, I'm like the 2 shelves and maybe couple buckets are gonna fit in that shed.
We're new to this house too. We have been here now for 3 years, and when I saw that shed, it was like, oh my God, I have died and gone to heaven. So it was a really important thing for me. Besides, there is a rule at this house between me and my husband that it has to stay in the shed. Well, 99% of it's in the shed because there are some larger items that just don't fit in there, and there's some that can't be out in the shed all year long, so they're in the house. But there's 3 themes there. Everything that I have compacts down that it can fit into there.
Primarily, the neighbor's shed looks pretty empty. You can like scoot some over there.
You haven't seen it right now because at the end of the season, I just kind of pile it all in there. And once we get a good day in spring, I will empty it all out, reorganize it. I rotate it so that everything that's in the front is for the current year theme so that I don't have to handle anything that's in the back. I have most of my things that I do are bodies, masks, and costumes. So I can do a lot of compacting down. I can do a lot of repurposing from year to year. So that helps give me a lot of variety for a lot of different things from one theme to the next then.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are like that. So
what do you use
I
for
have a
the
question.
bodies? Oh, sorry.
Yes.
All right, Patricia.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Patricia.
I was wondering what do you use for the bodies?
Everything and anything. Skeletons, old animatronics that don't work, different things along those lines. I mean, whatever I can find, PVC pipe, plastic bags, you name it, I've used it.
Okay.
This is the full view of the haunt. As I said, this year we had the cemetery. The garage door, which you're going to see in a minute, I turned into a crematorium. Luckily, we have a corner lot, which is wonderful. And we're also right across the street from the huge playground for a very large elementary school. So when I start putting this up, the kids have recess 3 times a day. They're lined up on the sidewalk over there going, oh, Halloween lady's got her stuff out. And they're all standing there over what's going on. And they're constantly coming over before and after school to see how things are and what's in the progress. But I mean, we've 52 feet long, and then I'm going 47 feet deep. So it's a really pretty big area. But one of the things that I have found over the years that don't work out too well is, with the details, you can't see a lot of things in the back. So this year I'm redesigning it, and it's actually going to be a walkthrough. So
nice.
People can see the details. This is my crematorium. On the Hangout, I looked at what everybody did. I loved what Mary Courtney did up in Salem, so I got a hold of her and found out what she did for her garage door, and she taught me a lot of things too, what not to do. My parameters with this was that garage door had to be functional, so it is. Those are 32 pieces of magnet that we bought this huge roll of. Bob cut them out into the shapes that they needed to be, and then I hand stenciled and hand painted each one of the epitaphs that's on there. And so all I had to do was just plop them up, the joys of a metal garage door, plop them up, and we could open and close the door and come and go as we please without having to move any kind of facades in front.
It's a great idea.
It worked out really
Logan
well.
Sharp wants to know, Linda, are you eventually going to do a walkthrough in the garage?
No. I need to keep the cars in there, and we've got too much other things in there, so I want to keep it outside. And the fact that 2 of the 3 themes are outdoor themes, it lends itself well to just having it, outside, and I don't have to worry about any kind of facades or anything along those lines. This is the one main entry area that I've created with the gate and the gargoyles from Costco. That's my web that I tried this year for the first time using the beef netting. Followed Kathy LeBeau's tutorials on that one and got the web looking really cool. This picture was taken by our backyard neighbor. She's kind of an amateur photographer, and she came over one night for 2 hours and just kind of camped out in them on the haunt and took a bunch of really cool pictures. She got this one with the fog run and all, and it looks really creepy and eerie. And all those lights behind there, that's the school. So, we have this huge area in the back there where, we football practice and everything. So we have a lot of people being able to see this on a daily basis.
That's awesome.
It's a good picture.
Bill Bordner wants to know where the gargoyle's from.
Costco. I love Costco. They were the great things that they had last year. Got them online. I think they were $80 a pop, and that was delivered. So they're hard resin. They're great. They rain and make noise and light up. I mean, they're just really great for the price.
Very cool.
Debbie Smith Wright wants to know, Linda, what's the best way to get started as a charity haunt?
Just dive into it. This was our first year as a charity haunt. So what I did was I wanted to do something for one of the food banks. A friend of ours is a Boy Scout leader, and they collect every year for the food bank. So I contacted him, and he put me in contact with the local one they deal with. I got a hold of them and said I wanted to do this with the haunt, and it just shocked the daylights out of them that I wanted to use this type of a venue as a means to raise food for their event. So they said, yeah, go for it. And for the first year, even with the really crappy weather that we had this year, we raised 143 pounds of food. So, you need to just get the word out and just barrel in and go for it.
Now, Linda, in this picture here, you have a lot of animatronics. You take those in every night?
No. I don't. Most of the animatronics, to be quite honest with you, don't work. I've had them for a while, and the motors have kind of kicked out. So that's okay. If they don't work, they're really great static props, and I can use them from year to year and repurpose them into other kinds of characters. So, yeah, that's Reagan. But, I just dressed her up and made her into a mourner for this year. Next year, for the pumpkin patch, she's going to be a pumpkin character. But, it's just... purchasing the animatronics, it might be neat and cool, and I know it's going to only last for about one season.
Yep.
So I look at it primarily as a way of finding a good item that I can make a really good static prop out of.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did
That's
you
a good
make
way
a
to
lot of
look
these
at it.
static props in here? In this
Oh, yeah.
picture too?
Yeah, most of them. Yeah, most of them. Most of them are static props and things that I've purchased from like other people, or bases and parts of ones that have the heads are broken or different things like that, that I have put new heads on, new masks, new clothes, different things along those lines. There's a couple of just old static props out there, like in the front, the white whaler. She's one of my old first static props, but she's just an absolute great one to have. Mama Wraith, that's standing there up at the top, that's actually a pumpkin character underneath. But I buy most of my masks, or have bought most of my masks from Trick or Treat Studios, and that one, just when I put on her, it just fell together, and it was just a really perfect character that came together for that one.
Cindy Wortman wants to know, when do you start setting up? And Tim Fowler wants to know, do you have a lot of help setting up?
I'm the only one that sets it up. My husband Bob comes out with some of the stuff that Shorty can't reach or is too heavy for me to deal with, but I primarily do it all myself. I usually start the beginning of October putting it up. It takes me at least a good week to get everything up. Takes me about one full day just to get the electrical out, and then at night, it takes me a while, a day or two to get the night lights and everything all done and set up.
Joshua really wants to know, where are you getting the non-working animatronics, or are these just animatronics you've had that stopped working?
They're animatronics I had that stopped working.
Yeah. Okay.
Damn it. Hey, you should have went to Fright Props.
I did go to Fright Props. I
Hey.
spent a lot of money on them this last year because I ran tombstones through them.
Hey, see? Go to the sponsors, man. They never turn you down. You never go wrong. All right, we're going to move over to Patricia. Oh, Phil's on the go.
Look out.
Oh. Okay. Part of moving to this new place was I needed to figure out how to make a pathway to make sure everybody went the right way, because it was a walkthrough that they went through, and we'd never had that before. And I also wanted a lot of things lit up, because all my neighbors, when I started setting up everything, they said, "Oh, too bad we don't get any trick-or-treaters over here at all." And I said, "Oh gosh." So I made a big sign and put it on the front gate. And I guess so many people saw it that they made plans that, even though they were off trick-or-treating somewhere else, they came and brought their kids and parked on the side of their house and came through. And these worked great. They're just the plastic pumpkin pails with some rocks in the bottom and some battery-operated tea lights, and they kind of lit the way for the path that they should take down the walkthrough.
Oh, very cool.
That's very cool.
This is in the window, and this kind of the witches area was outside of that. But this is one of the props that I made in one of my classes, and it was at Midsummer Scream, taught by Lydia Rhea, and I think you've seen her on Hunter's Hangout a lot too. But it's a cheesecloth ghost with a clothes hanger type of body underneath it, and it's lit up with a black light in the window, and everybody thought that was pretty eerie in the window.
That is pretty cool.
Patricia, you mentioned the classes that you've taken drew a lot of questions out of the audience. Samantha Black wants to know, what classes have you, or some of your favorite classes you've taken, and how have you incorporated that stuff into your haunt?
Well, I've learned a lot about working with foam and monster mud and things from the Davis Graveyard people. They've taught a lot of classes at West Coast Haunters Convention. In fact, in this picture, you can see a book stack with a skull and a candle on it. That was made in that workshop that I took from them. And I've taken classes from Dr. Bill Ramsey, Dr. Terrorize, and learned how to distress costumes or make potion bottles from him. All kinds of cool classes from Rallis Kahn, who's an expert in doing blood for Hollywood, and Roy Woolley is the guy that taught the acrylic eyeball class that I was talking about, and he used to be on, or he was one season he was on Face Off. I've also, an interesting story is I went to Midwest Haunters and I took classes from Alan Hops and also on faux painting by Melissa Winton. And I had this, I don't like to check my luggage, and I had to get this thing back that I made in her class. And I don't know if you can see that. It's a rusty, bloody saw blade, and I had it in my carry-on package, and I've never seen the TSA guys laugh so hard as when I brought it out and said, look, it's just made out of wood. It's, it's okay. But it was also in a duffel bag that was full of severed arms that I had purchased on the showroom floor. So I've had a lot of fun with my classes and bringing things home from them.
Yeah, so,
I just have a quick follow-up on the eyeballs.
On the what? On the eyeballs?
Yeah, sorry. A quick follow-up from Hugh Flesher that came early on when you mentioned the acrylic eyeballs. Just how do you make acrylic eyeballs?
Well, it had a 2-part acrylic compound that you mix together, and we have little forms, and they set up really fast. It was a concoction that came from Michael's, actually. And then we painted them, and then we put some glossy coating on it so that it looked shiny, like shiny eyeballs.
Cool.
That's cool.
Did you make that pumpkin?
Of the pumpkin.
This was a really, I get a lot of stuff at yard sales that, you know, they're kind of faded and whatnot, but this was one of those plastic, really big plastic pumpkins that was like a faded light orange color. And so I used the Alan Hops method of corpsing it with paint, drop cloth, the plastic kind, and a heat gun, and then painted it all the way black, and then dry brushed it with some different orange colors, and replaced the light in it. And I think it was this was kind of one of the first things you saw when you came in, and it's in the center of the driveway where there's some trees and things. So once I got the lighting on it, it looked pretty cool.
I mean,
so cool.
just by listening to you, is like, oh my God, you're like, you honestly like utilize like all the haunters. you just like name dropping like everyone I know and stuff. You're like, that, use this and
well,
I did that.
I could drop another name, and that's Brad Goodspeed. Because I did use a tutorial that I saw on making what I call my Brad skulls. They're the rotten skulls, like the one in the basket that's behind me. And it does look like the other thing that it doesn't look like Brad, but it's it looks like his skulls. Anyway, I've used that technique of using epoxy sculpt on some other projects that I've done, and been able to use another product too called Freefoam Air that's similar, but because of what I learned from the tutorial that I saw that Brad did, I've been able to apply it to a lot of other projects too.
Awesome.
All right.
Is this skeleton giving the finger in this picture?
No, it's supposed to be John Travolta. And it's like a tombstone saying, "Thank God disco only lasted that long."
Very cool.
Corrine Sanger wants to know, Patricia, what scene do you really want to do now that you have the bigger space?
Well, I've always wanted to do a medieval feast. And so I've already started working on making these gruesome looking dishes to put out on the table. And over the years, I've collected a lot of things that I could dress up my skeletons or mannequins to look like medieval characters. And there's so many cool things on TV to get inspiration from now, the different, programs that we've been watching, that I just constantly get ideas from those, like Game of Thrones and other things like that. So I'm looking forward to doing something like that.
Oh, nice. So whose technique you gonna use on that?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look on Connor's Hangout and see what kind of projects I can find on there.
Yeah, there might be something on that huntershangout.org, that 1,000 tutorials, you might be able to find something there.
That's just what I was thinking.
I was just saying, I don't know if you can. Okay, well, we're going to move on to Chris and look at his pictures and see what's going on over here.
All right, that's
Look at all that lighting.
That's the townhouse I was at before we bought the house. So that's the 2016 display that I had. I didn't do anything in the garage then, but I had already gotten pretty well into making my own tombstones and everything at that point. After watching like Tara and SK, I was like, yeah, I got to make something.
Did you use an X-Acto knife like SK?
Carving
all that stuff out?
Yeah, I used one of the long like foam cutter knives for the majority of it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll cut by hand. Like the gargoyle in the back, I just did like a overlay. The wings are actually just wood putty for filling furniture with duct tape layered over top of it just to give it like some structure. And then gargoyle itself, I carved out of white foam.
Wow, I carved out
Nice.
Yeah, that's all white foam. I didn't have any of the pink or blue stuff at the time.
How long did that take you?
I'm not exactly sure, but plenty of time over a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Ryan Greger wants to know, Chris, how are you going to be doing the water effect with lasers?
No, right now I was really just planning on using like the blue fire and ice lights, some in green, different green spots here and there, like some low fog or kind of haze fog throughout. I actually want to do at one point through the walkthrough, I actually want to do like deep sea vents and have the fog coming up out of those and then let it disperse to the garage that way.
Cool. Nate Digman wants to know, how long does it take you to do a hot glue figure? And Bill Bordner wants to know, and how many glue sticks?
Glue sticks, it depends obviously on the size. The last couple ones the clear glue that I'm using, they're actually like the smaller glue sticks. So I'm going through quite a few. And probably I'd say about 10 to 15 maybe, depending on what I'm working on. I could make one in an hour and a half, 2 hours probably.
Wow, that's it'd be more.
Because it will cool so fast. You start making the structure and let it cool, add a little bit of more layers so you can go through it pretty quick.
And then one more follow-up to that. Cindy Wortman wants to know, what kind of paint do you use on the hot glue fish?
That was just your standard like craft store acrylic paint. But I did find out, like, I got the metallic silver that was rubbing off a little bit, so I'll end up having to either prime them or seal them after I make them. But that was the first one I tried to paint.
Or if you paint them while they're still hot, it would stick. But that
sure. Yeah, not that fast. Yeah, and then that's the front yard at the house that we bought this year. I still think I need a whole lot more tombstones, but I made most of those probably the last 2 weeks prior to Halloween.
Wow.
Because I'm like, I need more, fill it up.
I was going to ask how many tombstones you try to make a year.
Yeah, I had like 4 or 5, I think, prior to moving here. And then one of the other pictures shows the garage, like where they're partway in. But I was just like, yeah, a couple weeks before I gotta get moving.
I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
I love her.
Thank you. Yeah,
me too.
Originally I was like thinking I wanted to make one that looked like the usual corn husk dolls, where it's like the folded over husk. But once I got down there and started working on the head, it just kind of took on its own idea, and I think, well, we'll just make a full figure that's all structured to look like a person.
So creative.
But it's just like, layer over layer, all hot glued on. So yeah, I need to buy stock and hot glue.
Chris, how's that lasting now that those corn husks are drying out?
It's done good. I haven't really lost anything. I didn't leave her out other than on Halloween, just because in Rochester, in Western New York, you can get some pretty strong winds. And I wasn't sure what would happen if once the rain got underneath it, because it's on top of cloth. But right now, I actually just lifted the board and everything she's on top of a storage shelf in the garage, and she's been sitting up there. Nothing's fallen off.
Alan wants to know, and yes, Alan, I'm skipping your last name because I'm don't want to butcher pronunciation. Wants to know, did you move into that house with Halloween in mind? Because he says it's perfect.
No, but anywhere I go, Halloween's in mind, so it works either way.
Right.
Did you preserve anything on this, like spray it with any type of stuff, or no?
No, yeah, I was going to, but I never have. I still might end up going back and adding like waterproofing or sealer, but right now I haven't done anything else to it.
And what'd you use for the hair?
That's actually dried corn stalks. The whole thing is coated and everything on it is corn. Those are like you get the long pieces that kind of hang off the top of the husk next to the silks. I pulled those off of some of the longer ones I had because they naturally dried up like that, and just took them off the regular pieces and then glued them on.
Shannon Hill wants to know, what's your favorite scene in your hunt?
For last year, definitely the corn witch was, because I had her and then I had the larger creature that I kind of envisioned that she had manifested out of the corn stalks on her own.
Joshua O'Reilly wants to know, do you have scares, like built active scares in the hunt?
I did, like, not with the witch. That was out like on the front of the driveway. But I decided like the night before Halloween, I needed to build a walkthrough in the garage. So I slept about 2 hours that night. Didn't really have it overly themed, but I took some old doors that the previous owners had left in the rafters of the garage, took them down, hung up plastic, made framing, and actually had a partial walkthrough. I had a cracker that I actually won through the show from Fight Props.
Right.
That I had in there one spot to scare people. There you go. I was ready. And then my brother-in-law was over, so he put on one of my masks. In between him and I, we did do a little bit of scaring, but I haven't had actors before, and this was really the first year I've been involved scaring, but it was fun.
Question about that. I guess that baby doll that's over your shoulder there. Megan Larson wants to know, did you buy that baby doll as is, or did you creepify it?
No, I bought a bunch of dolls at thrift store. That's something I did to it. The face on that, I actually took some like leftover great stuff that had dried and cut it into little slivers, and then I glued that onto the face and then did the other paint job on top.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Thank you.
I love the backdrop in this picture. It's crazy. Nice.
That's awesome. There's my Jaguar pumpkin up on the top, though.
I would be so scared handling this, though, because I feel like I would break it, considering I mean, yes, you use hot glue, but
strong. The underneath is actually, the bottom is 2 tomato cages that I opened up and bound together, and then the upper body is a 3rd tomato cage that I put upside down into it and then wired to the bottom too. And those are all mounted on like an old broomstick that I have attached to a OSB board on the floor. So I can actually, I put wires on the end so I can actually just pull the wires and drag the whole thing over like it's on a sled.
nice.
Oh, very cool.
I just threw corn stalks on top of the board. You couldn't even tell it was there. That was the first tombstone I made. After watching all the Terra and SK stuff, I'm like, well, I want to make something that's cooler than just a flat piece of board with some letters in it. I actually made this kind of in honor of my mom, because growing up, she always dressed her character like Wicked Wanda. She did all the trick or treating, made our costumes. So I told her that this was kind of for her. But I got the cauldron at a yard sale, cut it in 2, mounted it on there. Just freehand made the witch and the moon. There's actually little lizards and frogs attached to it too. That I kind of
Maximus Christian Bryant wants to know, how do you make corn stalks stand?
I actually I bought a bunch of the bamboo sticks from like Lowe's, and I think I cut them into like 3 pieces each. Used a couple zip ties along the length and just individually put them in the ground. I think I had 4 or 5 bunches of stalks that I'd put up around the scene.
Oh, very cool. Are you do you actually act as a character in your hunt? And if so, what is the character?
Not so much. I had the mask, on this side, on my left anyway, with the fingers in the top. I had that on with a cloak that I was just kind of hiding around the corner. I said my walkthrough wasn't really themed. I had like a doll room and a room with the corpse with candles at the end. And they had one of my daughters in there, like in the doll room dressed up. The other one outside carting people around, getting them into the beginning of the haunt. So it was just kind of a mishmash because it was last minute.
Matthew Miller wants to know if you have a tutorial for the Corn Witch.
There is actually,
he's not good for that, so you know.
Actually, there's sort of a tutorial because I did submit it to Dead with Dave, and it's posted on my YouTube channel. It's got like the images of her, and then after that's kind of like a progression photos of it.
Very good.
So no.
I'm just
So what we're saying is,
but really, it's just layering it on. The main thing I did with them is the part where the husk kind of curves toward the bottom of the corn. I would just flatten that out before I put the glue on, and I just put a lot of glue on and put them on while they're nice and green.
Matt Burke wants to know: do you employ actors in your haunt, or is it pretty much a static display?
Right now, it's just a static. I said I had like a couple in-laws come help me out with candy and scaring people, but that was about it.
How about you, Patricia? You got a character in your haunt?
You know, I was just so happy to meet all my neighbors. I was out there in my haunt shirt and giving out candy and meeting all my neighbors, and it was really, really a pleasant experience this year. It was super fun. I'm thinking about, I got a few neighbors that were kind of interested in helping out, that maybe we can incorporate some of that kind of fun stuff in the future. I have my biggest fans across the street. He's only 3, and he checked he wouldn't go to bed at night until he got a chance to come out and check on all of our lights, and then he would go to bed every night. And that was the whole month. It was really cute. So maybe he'll be a recruit in the future too.
Yeah, kids are creepy. That's like my creepy thing. Everybody always says like, what creeps you out the most? It's like deformed children. That creeps me out the most, man. More than anything. What about you, Linda?
Typically, I would be dressed as a witch every year. Some years I do the green face and everything else. When I would, then the kids wouldn't even come up to the door because I scared the daylights out of them.
Save on candy.
Bob would do that. They'd go to him and avoid me. He's in charge of the candy, and I just kind of, watch and see what's going on and things like that. And where we lived before, I was also the middle school teacher in town. So to most of the kids in the town, I was scary enough to begin with. So, I didn't have to dress up most of the time to scare the kids.
There's so many movies based on that.
Yeah, you live across the street from an elementary now.
The scary witch teacher that lives across from the elementary.
Yeah, but they have come over, and said, "Oh, that's I'm just so terrified of this and stuff." When like when I'm putting things up, and I said, "Of what?" It's just a big doll, and I take it over to them and like, here, look, and let them play with it and see it's nothing but styrofoam and clothes and things, and like, oh, okay, that's cool then. All right, I get it, and then they'll come back. Part of the thing with me is I want the kids to enjoy everything that goes on with Halloween and not just scare the living daylights out of them, because I want them to enjoy the season. So, if they get a little scared, well, let's lift up, the curtain a little bit, show them what's behind it, and then they can appreciate what they're seeing, to make them scared or creeped out or whatever.
So you're not trying to mess up their lives.
No.
I like it. It's different.
Yeah, the adults like it. I mean, as I said, there's a lot of there's adult humor out there too, where the kids aren't gonna get it. Like the pumpkin sitting on the toilet pooping the pies. The kids don't really get it, but the adults go, "Oh yeah, I see what you're doing here." Or like some of the epitaphs that were on the tombstones and things I had associated with them in front. The adults will get some of the more subtle humor where the kids will go, "Oh, okay, well that's kind of cool. That's different."
All right. How about you, Donald?
I was going to one year, and then I kept getting asked questions. Everybody wanted to know what was this or what was that in the yard. So I kept having to take the mask off. So my wife was like, just don't do it. Don't dress up.
Oh man, never break character, bro.
It's just, again, the kids, and there was back several years ago when we were at Blue Ash, one of the young kids came up to me, and it was about 8 years old. He was like, he goes, Mr. Garza, he goes, I go to a lot of yards, and yours is the best. I call you Mr. Haunt. So
that's cool.
Now my
that's
license
cool to have
plate.
that name.
That's on my license plate.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
But
Very
yeah,
good.
I don't dress up because everybody's always asking how I built this or how we did that or what do we do for this. So we just end up talking. So yeah, this is our front yard in the place we're living in now. The cemetery gate, we got that when we were in Trans World last year in St. Louis. We had that specially made and shipped in. We used to have styrofoam columns, and I built a PVC gate. But since we got this now with the wrought iron, that really helped out and helped and bring out our front yard.
Oh yeah, looks real nice.
How many did you make? All those tombstones, or are those some store bought?
There's some store bought in the back on the right hand side, but majority of them are all handmade.
I must say that's a huge tree too to block everything.
Yes.
It kind of blocks out the house. It's nice. It's like a perfect tree to have for the front yard.
Oh yeah, when we moved into this house, it had a bigger front yard than our old place, and it was like, okay, so I could expand the fence, so I had to build more panels. So we enjoyed it, and it was tricky getting the lighting. And again, my wife is very good with that, with positioning lighting in certain spots, so you don't have a mixture or too much. So she really helps do that because I get kind of crazy and I start going bigger and bigger and bigger, and she always has to wheel me back in.
Damn.
That's my skeleton up in the tree. We have him hanging up, and he hangs down and waves back and forth. And a lot of people don't notice him until they walk up close to the gate, and then he starts to sway, and they get nervous when they see it and they look up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it does look pretty creepy.
As black and white. This is so we have a lot of animatronics moving in the back, so that's why it's a little bit blurry. Like I said, we do a lot of movies themed tombstones. That's been our kick right now. So like, we had the Judith Myers, we have the original Judith Myers, and then we also have the newer Judith Myers.
Did you make that Judith Myers tombstone?
Yes. Yep. Did that with just a hot wire foam cutter, and also sat there and etched out each of those letters, which was and if using a router on foam, it runs away with you. During a tutorial in St. Louis, he was talking about, I forget his name, he was talking about it, and I kind of uttered, "Oh yes," real loud.
So does that hearse in the background too?
Yes, that is a hearse we built. I'm actually in the process of redoing it and starting from scratch and building it and doing a little bit more of an elaborate one from Jan's haunts. I got some ideas off of her. I really want to make the wheels actually workable and move. So we're in the process of starting to rebuild that.
Where'd you get the wheels from for that?
The wheels, my first set I made with yard spikes and just etched it out and then cut it. I actually has a video of me doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then these we found at Harbor Freight.
Oh, cool.
Mm.
Good to know.
Mm-hmm. Our skeleton swing. Again, my wife with the lighting to get that to pop out like that. We wanted to do something whimsical in the front yard for the kids. And to the left, you can see our George Dunbar from It with the red balloon, and they just enjoyed seeing those two items that close together.
That skeleton looks like he's painted orange. That lighting makes everything look perfect on that.
Yep. Yeah, my wife painted. There's 3 skeletons. We have the orange one, a green one, and a dark purple.
Oh, they actually are painted.
Yeah, she painted them.
I was like, oh, wow.
Oh yeah, no, she painted them, and we got the black lights up above to help make them glow like that.
Very cool.
Yeah, I like how that still glows with the white lights over the top of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all eyeball lights up in the tree, and then the netting's body with the spiders above them.
Very cool.
That was us making the tombstone for Carrie.
Yeah.
What'd you use to get that like texture? Almost looks like cement almost type.
Actually, it's just the stone textured spray paint. So just lightly misted. So like I said, we coated the tombstone so it was waterproof, and then my wife actually did the painting. I did the carving. She lightly misted it to make it look like tombstone, and that was her idea. She said we need to make it look more stone-like, and it came out perfect.
The details we go for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we see it all, but the people don't.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
it's always nicer if someone else tells you to put more detail on it. You're like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Sure, I'll do that.
Courtney Jean Rourke wants to know: does the skeleton swing?
When the wind blows, yes. I didn't. We thought about putting a motor onto it, but we didn't do it. So it just hangs in a tree. But he does, when the wind blows, he swings back and forth, which gets creepy at times.
Oh, that's cool.
I got stuff like that. I call them Windomatronics.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Windomatronics.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're gonna move over to Linda and let's see what she's got going on over here.
Oh wait, this is
got
one, two.
Got him. He was doing good too.
I was. Well, this one wasn't numbered, so I had to figure out where I left off.
Just pick one.
There you go.
Okay. That's the web that I did this year. As I said before, that was the first time I attempted to do the beef netting on that. What I did with this is I had one of the big 25-foot rope webs that I got online a couple of years ago from, I think it's a Spider Web Man. Put that up in the tree. I purchased some of the the other holiday lights. I did it again, Brad. I'm sorry. I just
That's two.
You got a drink now.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
All right. I bought the netting lights that people use for the other holiday that they put over their bushes, and I zip tied it to the rope web, and then I put all of the beef netting up and over the top of that. If you look carefully in the middle, I have a cocoon guy that's hanging in there, and then just added all the spiders onto it. That's pretty up high in the tree, and then went down all the way to the ground. It's a pretty big birch tree that's in, and it just really spread out and covered that area quite nicely. It was a really nice key place. Oh, this I love. This
He's so cool. Look at that.
yeah, this is I affectionately call this my spider web kiss. Anybody that's been on the YouTube page saw that I took Paranormal by Alice Cooper this year and took pictures of the haunt and synced it to the song. And this is the one that I put for that spider web kiss on your face. This guy, the spider, it's a mask. It's the arachnid mask from Trick or Treat Studios. It is on just a styrofoam head that's on a huge piece of styrofoam, and then from Buy Costumes, that is an adult-sized spider costume. It has the 8 legs and the whole 9 yards. I put the pool noodles in for the legs so that they're coming out, and then I put a body in there and made it look like he was just getting webbed up. It was a really
creepy,
effective, creepy piece.
Dude, I love that.
Linda,
Yeah.
we've had.
That's
I
cool.
apologize if I miss you saying this, but a lot of people are asking how those spiders came to be. Are those store bought, or did you make those spiders?
Those are all store bought. I bought them from quite a number of sources. This is my bush people. We had this really creepy bush out front that Bob took out this year because it was half dead. And when before he went to cut up, he looked at it, and the branches just were these weird, gnarly things. And he said, could you use this for the haunt? And I said, well, maybe. So I took quite a time over the summer and positioned it and rearranged it out back and really reconnected the branches to it with bungee cords and all kinds of things, and reconstructed the bush, put it back out front in almost its same location. And I had 3 of these masks are actually tree people masks. Branch Horrigan's the one up at the top, Trefoil's the one looking on at the left, and the other one is a tree witch, and then the one down at the bottom is a goat witch. And they just, I just tried to position them in so that it looked like they were actually growing out of the branches. And it was a really creepy effect, particularly with the red fire and ice light that I had on it. It just looked really kind of creepy in that particular location.
Were these masks from Trick or Treat Studio?
Most of them were. I think I got one from some, I can't remember, Ghoulish Productions. I got one of the other ones from.
That's another creative project.
Yes. All right. This is Henry. Excuse me. Henry is actually sitting on my pot person. Underneath of him, I have a person that is made out of terracotta pots that sits on that bench all year long. And all I do with that pot person every year is dress it in some clothing and stick a mask on the head. So as you can see, he's all dressed up there, given it is fall football season and it is Wisconsin. He's dressed for the Badgers and for the Packers, and he's just kind of hanging out there in the graveyard.
Damn, the comments went crazy there. No.
Oh, yeah. Okay, this one, I just love the creepiness that this came out with. I purchased her from Grande Road. She's one of the 3 gals that they have. I have all 3. I have her kneeling down under the one tree out front with in an in loving memory tombstone that I bought at Fleet Farm that people can actually take and, stick in their yards for their pet or something like that. And then in front of her is the talking urn that Granite Road also had that I had on, and it would, the face would come on and be talking to people. And with that, and then just that weird, creepy look in her face. I mean, it really spooked a lot of people, just the effect with the lighting on this one.
I gotta ask, in the background, is that a wolf or something? I see that back in the very top corner.
Yeah, no, that's my garden gnome. He's just an English garden gnome that I've had for quite a number of years that I got from Design Toscana, and he sits out in my garden all year long. He's just a weird looking character that I just put out there.
That is creepy. Just the gnome itself.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move over to Chris and show some pictures.
Are you skipping?
Oh, we skipping.
Don't screw me up like that.
Oh,
wait.
Skipped. Sorry.
See, he's out to get me.
Oh, that's me.
Patricia. Yes. Yep.
I was messing with Phil.
Yeah.
One of the classes I forgot to mention was I did an online class with Scott Stoll, and you can see some of the character pumpkins behind me in my office here. And then I had a bunch of other pumpkins and made this kind of entryway into another part of the haunt. And my neighbor was kind enough to go grab me some bales of hay to put out there and make this neat entryway with all the pumpkins.
Oh, very cool.
I love entrances like that. They're so cool.
It's always nice when the neighbors help out too. How the blue, you're like, yeah.
Yeah, she was really cool. She got 3 of them and brought them in her pickup for me.
So we've had a couple of questions about your trip to Europe, whether it inspired any ideas for haunts in the future.
I did just return from Switzerland. And people told me to keep my eye out for Krampus things, but I didn't see anything that had to do with Krampus. There were some scary German guys, but other than that. This is a picture of my cemetery out front, and most of the tombstones are homemade. And then my favorite project this last year was the dragon. It's the Big Lots dragon that I made into kind of a statue type thing with a pedestal. The pedestal is just made out of ice chests that people ship food in. And then I painted and added some cheesecloth with monster mud mixed in it, wings, and made them quite holy and scary looking. And the fun part was I heard a couple of grade school aged boys driving down the street and saying, "Look, it's the dragon house." So every time you hear something like that, it just makes you want to keep going, you know?
Right. I mean, that's very nice. That's well done.
Now, all the candle lights in there, what did you use for that? Are they store-bought or are they actually handmade?
The candles are just the battery-operated fake candles, and I have these holders for them that are actually supposed to be for utensils in the kitchen, like your spatulas and stuff, but they're heavy enough iron that I kept finding them at thrift stores, so I kept buying them for my candles to put out in the cemetery.
Hunters will use anything.
And then the others are LED lights that I just put out there. Here's a better picture of the project, my favorite project this year, the dragon. A lot of people had fun with the Big Lots dragons, I thought, this year. And the first one I saw, they had stained it with a wood stain, and that looked really cool. And I was almost going to go that route. And then I thought of all the Davis graveyard projects that I had seen, and it just kind of made me want to do a monument for the cemetery, and it kind of helped fit in with the rest of the cemetery because it's kind of hard to figure out where to put a dragon in other scenes.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that turned out really nice.
I know, it turned out awesome. How'd you keep them secured down to the foam top there?
It's heavy enough that it really didn't move all the whole month of October. It was out there.
Wow.
And it just stayed there on its own.
Really?
Yep.
Looks like you had a pretty nice October.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we did. I live in California.
Right, Cali. She's like, all October. Woo.
I know. Well, these were my rolling bones when I had the more detailed.
With one groupie.
Yeah, with one groupie. You can't see the groupie in the picture. But
I love the lips.
The Mick Jagger, yeah, those are made with epoxy sculpt, actually the free foam air because it's lighter. And I took the head off of a Costo skeleton and worked on that actually, and then reattached it to make. But everybody liked Mick Jagger, and they thought Keith Richards looked kind of like himself too.
Really?
Their instruments are all an old Guitar Hero game that I even had the drum set in the back from, and I got that at a yard sale for $5.
Wow, that's a steal. Nice.
Very cool.
This was one of the things that I put together because when we moved here, we had these old metal trash cans, and I thought I wanted to do something with them. So I saved up my real trash and kind of made it look older with like spritzing spray paint on it and stuff. And then got a big board and put all the trash and bones and stuff in with some great stuff and an old trash bag. And that kind of served as another barrier to have people walk through the right pathway. They'd have to walk past that, and it blocked off an area they weren't supposed to go in.
Debbie Smith Wright wants to know, do you make costumes?
Only my own. I've made costumes for some of these costume balls that we go to, and I I've got one in particular that I'm thinking of not wearing anymore and making into a prop. So I may start getting some different looking props because they're original costumes that I've put together for myself.
And Logan Sharp wants to know, what tip would you give for someone looking to add more detail into a hunt?
You know, I would start with things that you can get easily and cheaply, like from the dollar store. Like these rats are just from dollar stores, and the bones are all from the dollar store. The trash is my real trash that I saved up.
I was going to ask, are those actually real eggs?
Those are plastic eggs that I cut up to look like they were real eggs.
That is good.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I just, every little detail that you add, people do see it, believe it or not.
Right, very cool. All right, we're gonna move over to Chris. Check out his photos.
Oh, my share's gone. Oh, wait, it's back. There it is. Wait, no. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're good.
It's kind of scary. That's the reindeer that became a dog that I was talking about earlier that I never quite finished the legs on. I made it a static prop. I mean, I was happy with the finish on the skin and everything. I just never could get myself to go back and do the rest of the leg extensions I wanted.
Well, looks pretty good.
Yeah, that's in this really thin, like absorbent paper they use in shipping boxes that I use. It's like almost like tissue paper, but it worked really well for making that kind of design on the skin.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, that was something I was playing with. It's actually the coconut liner for planters. That I just was using like spray adhesive and things with to get it to bind, and I think I originally just shaped it by hand till I got it where I wanted it. Added a mohawk on top. I never, that's one too. Like it's pretty much where I wanted it. It looks good in the dark like that. But yeah,
you just have a single light lighting them up.
Yeah.
That'd be good down a dark hallway. Just boom, turn the corner.
Yeah. So, those liners you get them at the dollar store. So I may spend $2 other than for the eyes. The teeth were made out of just clay.
Big old beady eyes at the end. What the
But I had it up in the I was trying it out like up in the rafters, looking down in the garage.
That's cool.
That's part of the stuff I'm working on for this year for the undersea. That's actually like my work area in the basement. But my barracuda's like only partially done. I still got the skin finished. I finally got teeth on them now. But I just wanted to get an idea if things are looking the way I want them to for the setup. I figure I need about 20 jellyfish. Again, those are hot glue. Following that tutorial.
Dude, that is gonna look so cool.
So we're hoping, but I actually want to like wrap those around. I've got one of those the guys that looks like he's being shocked from Spirit. I actually want to like put some of the jellyfish on him, maybe with like the lines like he's been burned from the stings, and then still have him trigger, so it's kind of like the SpongeBob jellyfish where it's shocking you.
Great idea.
I am so gonna steal that idea. And sorry to break it to you, man. It's stolen.
That's stolen.
So everything on that jellyfish is completely hot glue.
Yeah. I make the bowl form. It's just in a glass bowl that I have. Once you get that out, peel that out. I make a circle on a marble lazy Susan that I have. Peel it off, hot glue it to the bottom of the bowl, and then the strings I just make them on I have a sheet of metal that I just make those out, do a couple different layers with them, peel them all off, and glue them to the bottom.
So the bowls are still attached to it all.
What's that?
The bowls are still attached to it. The bowls are inside there.
No, you actually make the form inside the bowl and then peel the glue out of the bowl. So you just reuse the same bowls over and over. It's just to get the form while you put the glue together.
Yeah, dude, I want to have like 20 of my kids like hot gluing.
Do you have to put a releasing agent in there?
I haven't so far. I mean, it fits so tight. Sometimes it's hard to get them pulling out, but I haven't done anything yet. It might work better. I just haven't given it a shot.
Dude,
With working with so much.
Hey, Chris, you know what?
Yeah.
And just for you showing me that picture,
Yeah.
you know, you totally redeemed me with my wife, because she actually looked at me. She's like, Jose, do you actually need that many hot glue guns?
Absolutely.
she's like, you bought
I have 5.
You bought 4 web guns. Why? She said 1 would last forever. You just like totally like blew that right. I'm gonna go when I get off here. I'm gonna go tell her that.
Like, if I'm at
Good
yard
luck
sale
with
and I
that.
see 'em, I
You
just
still
like, I
only
need
have
another one.
2 hands, right? So you can only use 2 at a time.
Yeah.
So.
You need the low temp and the high temp, so you gotta have at least a couple that way. Then you need the small one and the large one, so there's 4.
Yeah, there you go.
Don't bring me down, Brad. Don't bring me down.
Then you need the blue one and the red one, because
Yeah.
the red one's cool, but sometimes the blue one's cool.
Well, that too, and actually, when you're doing a lot like that, you know, it gets nice and hot inside, and that glue will come out fast. But if you really want it to bind together well and not have all those lines, once you use what's inside the gun, it starts to go slower. So you can
Right.
switch guns to the next one that's already hot. So really, if I keep 2 of them hooked up all the time, and I'm just switching back and forth.
Yeah.
There you go. Now,
Chris,
that's-
with working with so much
that's-
hot. Go ahead.
Sorry?
Talk about the doll. You're all set.
Oh, no, that's cool. Yeah, that's just the one that's hanging behind me that was talking about earlier, where the texture is actually just the slices of great stuff.
Very cool.
You glued it on?
Yeah, that's actually glued on. I think I
Okay.
just glued that on with Elmer's, though, not with hot glue.
Oh.
And this is the tombstone I made for the Fright Props Challenge last year. It's a safety coffin or safety grave. It's actually got the pipe with the bell on the side. So there's a deer motor mounted inside the back with we've got basically a fishing line running up through PVC up to the bell.
Oh yeah. I remember.
Yeah, I made a little thing that kind of flicks with a coat hanger that like flicks the line as it goes around, and it makes the bell ring. Not as loud as I'd like it, but it worked.
So, Chris, with all the hot glue you work with, how many times have you burned yourself?
Oh, quite a few times. Nothing really bad. I don't think I've ever burned it enough. I've had blisters, but definitely you get that moment like, damn, you know. But yeah, it comes with the territory.
That's when haunt season begins every year. That's what I always say when you get your first hot glue burn, then you know.
I'm well on my way then.
Mhm.
And yeah, this is the witch I made. I've worked on her for a couple years, but last year I had to just mask on a wig head before. This is a wig head that I took paper clay and some paper mache, kind of changed the look up a little bit, added the nose. That's a couple different costumes cut up to fit over her. It's got the like chicken wire cage and everything underneath, with the deer motor that makes her head go nod back and forth. And then I've got the wiper motor in the pod to make the stick turn.
Did you happen to make the hands for this, or were those?
No, those are like the zombie yardstick hands. I attached them to the PVC on the inside. And that one actually looks very. When I got the hot lights on, you can't even tell that the angel's multicolored painted. It all looks green. So I haven't got far enough to distress it all. But this is one of the things I decided to build 2 weeks before Halloween. I had the columns already, but I wanted to be able to store it well. So it's all modular. It all comes apart. I actually have PVC through all the columns that goes down into the ground to anchor it with a rebar coming up through it. The top plate is actually Velcroed on to the top of the columns. So I can just pull it apart, and it takes up almost no space in the rafters in the garage. But I'm thinking maybe not this year because I'm doing the water, but when I go back to a cemetery theme, I actually want to build like a crypt that'll sit on top of.
That'd be cool.
And there's some more of my dolls.
Oh.
Yeah, I said I was picking them up left and right at the thrift stores last year. So,
Oh, I love
Like
that.
blocking.
You didn't tell them what you were going to do with them, right?
oh no, I'm like, you know, because it'd be all kind of off season. I might just say, yeah, Halloween's coming. I need creepy dolls, but then tell them how to what extent. But the block one, yeah, the block one was always one of my fears with the kids because we had a set of the wooden blocks from Disney, and I was always afraid they'd be walking through them and fall on them and, you know, dent their head or something. So I was like, I'm gonna make that.
It's one of your fears.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ash covered one, that's actually the clean out chute for our fireplace in our basement, where I just have her sitting down there.
Oh, good Lord.
This goes back, this is about 4 years. This is the townhouse when I first kind of got going crazy with everything. It's in my neighbor Martin and I, both into Halloween. We knew the managers really well. They let us have the whole atrium, the utility rooms. We had our storage units. Some people actually emptied their storage units out, so we had extra rooms. And we did a full walkthrough haunt. Downstairs, we basically had to build it within a day or so because it was the maintenance area, it was the laundry area. But they said, yeah, go for it, do whatever you want. So we bought pool dye, and we actually dyed the fountain that they had blood red.
Megan Larson
Were they
wants to know,
were they expecting that?
Well, we told them we were going to do it. We asked them first, and they're like, "Yeah, go for it." So they actually gave us some money for budget to help buy with props. They always throw a party for the kids, so they're already having something there. And then they even gave us a little bit of a discount on our rents afterwards for doing it because they liked it so much.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so we did that for 2 years while we lived there.
Megan Larson wants to know where did you first get the inspiration to use hot glue versus other mediums for your?
It was just kind of, I guess, the jellyfish first because I found that tutorial on it, and then I'm like, yeah, the stuff I want to make for underwater, because I'm looking at a lot of the creatures from the abyss, and you get a lot of translucent, things with lights in them, and I'm looking for ways that maybe I can replicate some stuff like that to have in there. And I figure, well, glue's pretty good, and that, especially the clear hot glue, it comes out pretty good when you're done.
Oh, pretty cool. All right, we're going to finish up with the pictures, and we're going to start off with Donald.
This is this is where we were starting to do the touch-ups on some of the tombstones. So, I said the George Denenbrough from It, the original tombstone, and then we had the 2 tombstones from Michael Myers from the Halloween. We wanted to incorporate both of those into the Halloween yard this year.
Oh, them look real nice. I love that George one.
Yeah, that took some time because it was hard to get a picture of that online, a full video, shot of it. So we got snippets of it and just kind of built off of what we can see. And the wood plank we got from Michael's. The letters are foam, which my wife detailed in gold, and we got the ears. The bottom is actual wood molding for around the room, and that's actually 3 2.5-inch thick foam pieces put together.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, I'm stuck. There we go.
It's a picture of our hearse and the haunted Home Depot horse, which the kids just loved this year when we got that. The hearse, again, we built that with with our skeleton driver. So the front end, the where he's sitting was kind of an afterthought. So that's why this year we're in the process of redoing that whole hearse, and I'm starting to collect wood. I try and do it as cheap as possible. So where I work now, we do a lot of shipping of crates. So I got a lot of employees holding off 2x4s for me off to the side. So I'm always coming home and 2x4s on my full shoulder.
Nice.
This is last year when we still had the styrofoam columns in the front, and actually we gave those away to another haunter who lives here in Ohio. I put them online, so he came and grabbed them. We've had them for years, and a neighbor of mine at our Blue Ash house came over, and he was like, "Hey, you guys can use this. You guys need something." So he donated those to us. So I just donated them back out.
Nice.
So this is just another shot with the carry. This was from this year. The hearse get a little bit of a better hearse. The coffin wasn't in it at this point, but we have a coffin that sits inside the hearse and it has a skeleton inside, and we web it up and we put some black light in it. So this was kind of before the yard was completely done.
Did you make fencing to go all the way around your yard?
Yes. Yeah. When we lived over in Blue Ash, the yard was a lot smaller. So when we moved here, I had to build about 4 more panels to reach all the way around. So it's just all PVC, the 1x1 beams, and then just sat there and drilled holes and got the fennials from was that King Arthur's fennials?
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, we're going to move on to Linda's pictures. We got probably 10 more picks to go, and then we'll move on to the prizes.
Perfect. Okay.
Perfect. This is the first time we've ever got through like all 15 pictures, so that's impressive.
Okay. These 2 props. That's one of the other gals that I got from Grande Road. Mama and the little girl over the Samuel Wardwell tombstone that I got from Fry Props this year. Made a little display with some flowers with in the urn down below it with the hand coming up, so it kind of looked like it was sort of possessed a little bit with that one. They were just a kind of really cool, eerie, creepy looking thing.
Oh, very cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I love her. That's Vampira. I've had that. I don't even remember. I've had that tombstone for quite a long time. I believe I got her years and years ago from. I think it was Fright Props that I got her from. And it's a vampire tombstone, just letting her hang over it like she's, protesting that she's under. That's a big hit this year.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Did you? So, hold on. Go ahead.
Okay. This is Mama and the girls. The girls are actually the little ghost people that Grande Road had, but I made Mama. We went and visited Bob's sister out in Omaha, and I went to this store called Nobi's, and they had this really unique styrofoam head with a long neck. And the first thing I said when I saw this is, I'm going to make a prop out of this. So I used that, and then followed some of the ideas that Kathy LeBeau had, made a little bit of PVC for the head to sit on, put a bra on her, stuffed her up with some batting, and then completely covered her with about 8 panels of sheer curtains that I got at like the dollar store, and then bought some tulle and just put that over the top. In the lights, when they would hit her at night, they were really ethereal looking and really were pretty. Were actually really pretty.
Yeah, very nice.
Okay. Curiosity. Yeah. Another one of Fry Pops stones. Both of these, that's the howling wolf and the cat that I got at Big Lots. These were some of my first corpsings that I did this past summer. Corpsed them up, got some fur from Hobby Lobby and stuck some of them on. The cat, I got some of the cat eyes and stuck them in there, and it even creeped my own cat out. So we just stuck them out there, playing on what was going on with the tombstone.
Very nice.
That's our photo op. I did that for the first time this year, seeing that a lot of other people had been doing that. He actually is my very first static prop that I ever did buy. And what I did and changed him around some, that's not the original head. I bought one of the large skeleton heads, and I designed him after the skeleton guy that was on the front of my t-shirt from the Alice Cooper concert. So I put got the hat, got the spiders to put on in his eyes, and just made him up like that and set him out front for a good photo op. So photo op will change every year. This coming year, it's going to be, since it's going to be the farm, it'll be a farm character that we'll be dealing with for the photo op.
Do you get a lot of people who want to take photos?
Yeah, a lot. That's
Nice.
one of the reasons I created a photo op this past year, because sometimes they try to climb over the fence and things like that, and I don't like anybody in there for security and safety purposes. And also this way I thought, let's put the bench outside, give people an opportunity to sit down and take pictures and the like, and it worked out really well.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Do you ever get people like actually tagging you when they post them online or anything?
Yes, I
You
did.
can see them?
Yeah, and now that we, the haunt actually has a name this year for the first time and has its own Facebook page, I've gotten a lot of tags and was able to put the pictures up and to be able to share them.
All right.
Very cool.
Very cool. All right, we're moving on to Patricia, and the last but not least of all the pictures.
Okay. This is my rotten candy clown, and he's actually a 6-foot skeleton that I have, and dressed him up, and the kids that was the candy area, so the kids had to go kind of buy him and some other circusy type things before they could get their candy.
Yeah, looks pretty good.
It's everybody loves the crazy gardening skeleton. It's kind of a simple deal, but everybody loves her, and the guy, the cowboy, and the whiskey barrel. You can use a whiskey barrel for anything, and then the little skelly vultures.
I can actually relate to that guy a little bit.
One thing I'll point out is in the picture you can see the bubbles in the tub, and those are actually the things that apples come in at Costco. I just cut them up and stick them in there, and they kind of look like bubbles.
Yeah, cool.
It's a good idea.
That
That's a
is.
good idea.
You must have to cool down all the time with that California heat, you know.
Exactly. And this is an example of why you should never get rid of anything, because you can use it for a prop. This wheelbarrow was my grandfather's, actually, and it had the broken wheel. It didn't work, and everybody said you either need to get rid of it or get it fixed. And I said, how about neither? Because I like it the way it is for this prop. And so this was kind of by the graveyard, and I thought it turned out pretty good, and I get to use something of my grandfather's.
Oh, I do.
That's
like
nice.
that. It is nice.
Which skull is his?
Who asked that?
Now, Patricia, you didn't bring any of that like stuff into your yard, right? That's all just fallen from the trees and everything.
That's just naturally in our yard, the pine needles and the oak leaves, and I just kind of stuffed it in there to make it look like it all fell in there.
Nice.
And this is what I did with my little bony animals. This is the little trick-or-treater group that right before you got your candy, they were part of that whole crowd. And I originally had gotten the big costume for our big dog, but she just tried to eat it. So I decided these guys were better for the dog costumes. And most of them just came from dollar stores, the costumes.
Oh, nice. Dollar stores are good for something, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Spending $1, that's what they're good for.
Right.
And this is my gory gravedigger guy. And I'll never forget when the kids came home from school and said, "Mom, why are there guts drying on our patio table?" But and I thought this was going to be too gory for all the kids because it looks like he kind of got run over in the graveyard, and he has pool noodles in his for legs, and then he's flat and he's got these guts hanging out. But most of the kids thought it was kind of funny, actually.
That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're made out of great stuff.
I only got one thing to say about that picture. I mean, I love it, but you definitely got to get a bigger shovel.
That's a good suggestion.
Awesome prop though. All right, guys, that's it. I mean,
Hey, Jose, 1 second. I ran down and got my.
He went and got it.
He wanted to see them, so I went and grabbed them. There's the glue creatures.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
So anyway, yeah,
You said it took you an hour.
A couple hours, maybe. Yeah. It's actually 3D. Cool.
Did you actually make that from scratch, or use like a?
Yeah, no, it's all made from scratch. I just kind of looked at a picture of one and figured out how to form it.
Wow, look at that.
That's good work.
So that's why Jose wants my videos. But yeah, there's the fish.
Yeah. He was supposed to do a tutorial, but he didn't. He did another one without a tutorial. That's all right.
I gotta figure out how to make them first, so when I make the tutorial, it looks like I knew exactly what I was doing.
No, but it's good to show the mistakes. That way we know not to make them, see?
Yeah. First mistake. Right. I get to make the video.
Right. All right. Well, I mean, we had a great guest, man. All the stuff's very cool, very informative. I want to thank you guys for coming out, definitely, and hopefully we'll see more coming from you guys in the near future. New haunts, new stuff. So I want to thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for coming on. You guys did awesome. Amazing haunts.
And of course, you guys don't forget to go to hauntershangout.org, where we have over 1,000 how-to tutorials on just about everything. Is literally the biggest video how-to website out there. So go see it, gotta do it, and make a profile. Do whatever you got to do. And we're gonna move over to Phil, and Phil is gonna tell you who won the prizes for tonight.
Oh yeah. Okay. Hopefully I can do pretty well this time.
Hey, well, I seen all the names and I passed it off to you.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, I could not pronounce half of them.
So, a mask from Face Factory Effects. The winner is drumroll. Nate Digman.
Nate.
Yay, Nate. Yay, Nate.
Put Nate in the contest.
Yeah. From Fright Props, a groundbreaker zombie mask. The winner is Tim Fowler.
Woohoo, Tim! Actually, I know him too.
The one lucky winner who will receive one free SFX library and 25% off original sound and 10% off amps and speakers is, I am going to butcher this name. I am so sorry, John, but John Budzinski. I hope I said that right. Next, we have Hornaments. And the winner is Courtney Clapper, and you win the Raven ornament.
Nice. Yay, Courtney.
Next, we have a gallon of fog from Froggy's Fog, and Bob Bowie. I'm going to guess that's your name. Sorry if I butchered that. Congratulations.
Keep going with it.
Yeah.
Next up, Haunt Labs. You get a Haunter hanging wall sign featuring your winning state. And the winner is Mike Bloomhuff.
Yay, Mike.
The winner of a realistic looking skull from Nightmare Makers is Joshua Rayleigh.
All together.
And from iHeart Makeup FX.
I love
FX makeup. Sorry. The Hollywood FX hybrid alcohol airbrush makeup, which was a glow green and orange, is Dan Colville.
All right, Dan.
The exotic lenses, which is a pair of free non-prescription lenses. Yeah, one free pair, is Lori Ross.
Hey, Lori.
Your choice of one of 4 knives from Hardcore Fabrication. The winner is Matt Burke. The winner of the $25 gift card to Hot Wire Foam Factory is Gregory Wallace. And I gotta change pictures.
Last one.
A webcaster gun from Matthew Miller. of Scurvy Demon Haunt is Sam Coddy. Katie. Sorry. And finally, for all of you watching tonight, make sure you guys go and check out Sam Hayes for 50% off of any sound that you're looking for. The code is Haunters. So make sure you guys go check that out.
Everybody wins that.
Yep,
Yeah.
everybody is a winner in my book. See,
everybody is a winner. We want like again, we want to thank everybody for coming on. We definitely want to thank all of our sponsors for sponsoring us and giving away gifts for every single show. It's definitely means a lot to us, and I hope it means the same to you guys. And definitely for all your hunt needs, go to them first and buy a lot of stuff. Show your support. Show your support. And
toolbar.
That's right. All right, so and that's it. And next show we are going to have a makeup show, and tomorrow we will post what the artists are going to do and what makeups you need to do it. So make sure you guys check us out tomorrow and do a follow along. I mean, they're really great artists, and I think you'll be very impressed with that. And if you're wanting to get into makeup, then I think this is going to be the show for you. Okay, so and we'll post a link to this Hangout down below after the show's off. And thanks for everybody for coming on.
Take care.